sharing it. It's showing visible. Can you see that screen which I was sharing?
No, we can't see. We can see you.
Could you please try now?
You can see me, right?
Yeah, can you try? Because there are quite 28 people who have joined.
Yeah, sure.
Vidadi, now I think the share option is in your screen. Yeah.
Right?
Okay, I think we can start. We have 30 people, and I'm sure there will be more joining. Yeah, hello and welcome all. This is our last session in the series of Women in Conservation webinars. And I have to say this was one of the pending ones, and Orpita could not, held the session around the Amphan times because she didn't have any connectivity. So we are happy to get her back. And we'll wrap off, finally we can wrap off our sessions with all the lovely ladies who have joined us all through. Saying that, I would request Meghna from HEAL to say a bit about the webinars which has happened, and then we can pass it over to Orpita and she can take it over. Yes, Meghna. Meghna, you have to unmute. Hello?
Yeah, I wasn't here. I was on a call. I had received a call. You was, yeah, Diyadi?
Yeah, so I just told everyone that this is our last session in the series, and if you want to add something as part of HEAL, for all the lovely ladies who had joined us all through and have been pretty patient.
So thanks a lot. We had around a very informative and insightful discussions on various conservation topics. Unfortunately, Arpita couldn't join us earlier because she was having some internet internet connection issues at home. So, but we really wanted her to give the session, to have the talk with us. So we have finished the talk today, and with this seminar, we'll be rounding up a series of talks centered around women on conservation. We hope that in future we will we can invite our participants for various other discussions and programs. So now I'd like to hand it over to Arpita without any delay so she can get on with her presentation. Thank you. Arpita, are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess the network is shaking. Just go on again. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just saying that we couldn't have the talk earlier because of some internet connections you are having. So we are having the talk today, the last round of talk in this.
I'm little worried. No, I'm little worried now.
Can you hear us?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, Meghna.
Yeah. Actually, your screen is frozen. Arpita, are you there?
Yes.
Yeah, unmute yourself. Arpita, unmute yourself.
I did. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah. Have you joined us from the laptop, or because I can see one screen where you're
From
showing us.
laptop. From laptop.
Okay.
No,
But
from laptop I have joined. I think I need to get back to the phone because
yeah, I think you should get back to the
somehow
phone. It's not happening.
working well. Yeah, because it would be okay because I won't be able to see anyone, but I think still it is better.
Yeah, because your voice is shaking, like it's
Yes.
getting connect. There's a lot of static.
Just check. Okay, fine. Good. I hope it works. Um, am I audible to am I audible to everyone?
Yes.
Okay. So hello everyone, and so anyway, too much of internet problem till now I'm facing, but first of all, when this women in conservation was out and I had been titled as a turtle lady, uh, then it was a shock for me because I really don't know whether I deserve that title or not. It was a very heavy thing on my head that I had to carry on. But I don't know. Today I would like to share some of the story of my work and how I have faced few things, how the turtles are doing in that area where I'm working. So it's more like a storytelling and stuff. So if you have any question regarding that, you can ask me later. Um, so let me go on. So that's where I've written that it's turtle and us. So we cannot leave this animal, this wildlife, or apart from this human interaction and everything. So let's me come to the point that we all know that we are facing a lot of ecological crisis, and almost 60% of the population got extinct in last 4 decades according to the WWF Living Planet report. So it is scary, it is when we think about it, it's you know that I mean, losing so many things at the same time. And when I look like from the bigger animals, when I come down to a smaller version, then if I talk about turtles, even they are facing a huge threat because of a lot of climate change, almost then human interference into their life or into their habitat, and for which we are losing a lot of species, whereas the turtle species are really less if I compare to other smaller group of animals. And so this is I would talk about more on the area I'm working on. So it's on the Brahmaputra basin, river basin. So this is the area which you can see on the map. uh, and we call this area as the turtle priority area, because in India there are 29 freshwater turtles and tortoises, and in Northeast India there are 23 species of turtles and tortoise. Out of that, in this Brahmaputra basin we have 21 species, and in Kaziranga, near about Kaziranga, we get around 18. So that's why we have selected that as a turtle your priority area. And over that, almost more than 50% of the turtles are threatened now. So let me come to the Brahmaputra basin. As we know, Brahmaputra, you call it a mighty river, and the habitat. And Brahmaputra, when we talk about, we think about Kaziranga, how every year it floods, and how every year the animal actually get them used to with the flood, and as well as the people over there in that area. So I will show some few pictures of the turtles we find in the Brahmaputra basin. Um, these are the black softshell turtle and Gangetic softshell, Indian peacock softshell, narrow-headed softshell. It's a the Latin name is very nice, that's Chitra indica. And just see this black softshell turtle. Remember, just take this, remember this name. Let me go through few more turtle species we get to see. Lissamis punctata, which is very much common in all around India, and some Assam leaf turtle. We have black turtle, the tricarinate heel turtle, brown roof turtle, and Indian tame turtle, Indian roof turtle, Assam roof turtle. Again, this Assam roof turtle. Remember this name. So yeah, there are some few turtle species, though I'm going a little fast. There are a few species over there, this black softshell turtle and this Assam roof turtle. We have taken these two species as the flagship species of our project, because turtle, this black softshell turtle are thought to be previously that it got extinct into the wild, and this Assam roof turtle, definitely for all these threats they are facing, we are losing the numbers. But so yeah, so let me come back to the threats straight away. So all these species, you could see that how beautiful these turtles are, and the threats they are facing is more like they are being collected from the wild for illegal pet trade. They loses their habitat, and what I have seen in Brahmaputra basin is there are a lot of wetlands, and beautiful wetlands, but and vast, I would say. Even in my area, which is the Bishwanath Ghat, it's in the north bank of Kaziranga, we have near about 21 wetlands across that area. And out of this 21, almost 15 to 16 wetlands are very much used by the people for fishing, for collecting a lot of weeds, for their regular household uses. And every time, whenever we went, we have seen that there are a lot of fishing nets have been placed, and this bird species also get entangled, and this, of course, it's a very big threat for the turtles as well. And then we have seen that the agricultural land, the converted agricultural land, there are swamp lands where the turtle used to do their nesting. But right now people have like cut down the trees, cleaned that swamp area, and they have converted it into an agricultural land. So sometimes we really find the turtles have stopped nesting there, and they are trying to move somewhere else, which is far away from their resting site, and for which they have been caught by the people out there, or by they get run over by vehicles. This thing happens, and so on, and definitely they are living beside Brahmaputra, so overfishing is a very big concern. And and there are a lot of turtles which lay their eggs on the mud flat, on the bank, and on the nearby shrub area in that area. But due to this fishing, overfishing, and people interference in that disturbance in their habitat, makes it really difficult for these turtles to come and do their nesting. That's why we are losing, we hardly we get nesting report, like any fisherman or anybody tell us that, okay, there are some nesting they have seen. The numbers is reducing, and hardly we get to see them. And sometimes it happens that because this fisherman community, they put the net overnight into the river, so the turtle get entangled, they get drowned, and unfortunately they die. And the most that I think a lot of places we have been facing this thing, which is the consumption of meat and egg of the turtle, knowingly or unknowingly, whether it's a delicacy or they just want to like try out something new. So this thing happens till date. And on top of it, I mean, we have illegal pet trade, we are losing their habitat. I mean, they are losing their habitat, their nesting site have been disturbed, this overfishing thing, consumption of meat and everything. And on top of that, Assam face another thing, which is a complete religious belief that they donate turtles into the temple pond. So I would, so this is how they do fishing. You can see that it is already the dusk time and they are doing it. Okay, so and this is the area where our northeast branch is located, just on the bank of Brahmaputra. So here comes the what I was talking about, the temple, the donation of the turtle. So the first time when I went there, I was like very happy to see like so many turtles in that pond, so many different species, almost 10 to 12 species I could see on the same day. And but later, gradually, I got to see that the condition of the turtles are really not good enough to survive there. And not only that, their feeding habit has completely changed, because the turtles eat their, initially they used to feed biscuits and stuff, because it's a temple, you cannot feed them fish or any raw meat to the turtles. So and unfortunately, we have lot of like we have a good population of this black softshell turtle in this temple ponds in Assam. And due to their inhabitable habitat, or how they are staying over there, we are getting a lot of disease or lot of other uh, I mean other skin, mainly skin problem, or to this black softshell turtle. And so what brings these turtles into this pond is people believe that if you donate a turtle into this temple ponds, your prayers will be answered. Um, Imagine a turtle which is moving around into the wild, and a person suddenly find that turtle near the road, or near the swamp area, or at the wetland, or near their house. They just collect it from the wild, and they bring it to this temple and release it into the pond, where there are hundreds of turtles which are living together, and in a very uh, unfavorable condition. um, so this religious belief have like this religious belief have really drastically brought down the the health condition of the turtle really bad. And we are losing the turtles from the wild. But one thing what TSA with HealthPath and with Assam State Zoo, what we have started is, because this turtle also do nesting, so we have collected these eggs, and artificial incubation had been done, and then these hatchlings has been released back to the wild from few temples. But till date, we are really trying to convince this temple, which is at the Bishwanath Ghat, the Nagshankar temple, to make them realize that these hatchlings can get back to the wild rather than they have been released in the same pond where where these big turtles are there. And but we had a success story of hatchlings coming out of the egg, but luckily luckily at least few temple have agreed uh, and participated in the same way of conservation, that they can go back to the nature. And so I think last year in September, with HealthPath, there's around near about 70 hatchlings have been released back into the wild in Pobitora Wildlife Sanctuary. So we are really hoping that from this temple where I am working, we would get the permission, or the authority would get convinced that even they can also release it back. And we are trying to we are also trying to convince them by another like the local people, the local community, to convince them that if they are releasing this turtle into the pond, which is like a jail, how their prayers can be answered. So it is better that Brahmaputra, which is already they call the mighty Brahmaputra, they can release these turtles whichever they get. They can release it over there, they can worship it over there, and then their prayers can be answered more. I mean, there are a lot of different conversation we keep on doing with the local community. Let's see how things work. And so the next thing what we are planning to do is the habitat protection. This area which you see, it's called the Gang Mothan, the name of this area. So imagine this place. You can see all this green around the pond. Beside it, you have the Brahmaputra again, with mud flats, a good place where the turtle has a good gradient, to lay the egg or to come to this water, or for resting or to move around. But the authority have planned to build like places for devotees who would come here, and there would be concrete buildings, and they want to do a complete pavement around this pond to protect this water. But luckily we had to fight a lot, and after all this religious thing, that even the turtle is because it's a Kurma avatar, so they should remain there as well. So now they got convinced that only half of the portion would get concrete, and the rest would keep they will keep natural. I don't know that after humans start innovating here, how long these turtles or other animals would come here to drink water or thing. But at least slowly they are understanding the necessity of these small creatures as well, the importance of these creatures into the wildlife. And so another thing which we are where I feel that any conservation step or anything what we are trying to do, the grassroots conservation is very much required, because we are here, we are knowing that whatever is happening, how nature is changing, and excuse me, how the ecological crisis is really defending all the animals who are living into the wild. But these people who have seen a lot of things from when they were growing up, or we get a lot of stories from the old people, from the generations, and of course a lot of mythological stories related with each and every animal from generation after generation. And they are very much unaware of what is happening. Uh, because when I went, I say that, okay, have you seen this turtle? And for them, seeing a turtle is fine. If they don't even see a turtle nowadays, that is also fine. But to make them understand the difference, that what is happening out there, uh, whether and why we are losing it uh, in this huge, I mean, even you can see these are young people out here. um, they have seen the turtles when they are very young, but maybe in 10-15 years they haven't come across, but that question was never in their mind, that why they are losing this species from that area. So I think it is our responsibility, or to uh, bring back that importance in their mind, or bring back that question in their mind, that, and of course they can only answer because they are born and brought up there. They can change the they can feel the difference, they see the changes, they see the river changing its course every year. So once we put the question in their mind, and I think that helps a lot, and we have been trying to do that as well. um, so this is and it's been wonderful, trust me, to meet so many children. We have almost crossed more than 8,000 children, and asked them to participate in turtle talks, and they are very much focused, what I could find, no matter they know about turtle or they have seen them. And there are many of the students have already consumed turtle meat and turtle egg, but they have been very good listeners. They listen to it. So we have been targeting this local community uh, through awareness, and of course the students. And if you see one picture over here, uh, the girl who is giving the talk on turtle, she's one of our first uh, those three of them out of three. She's one of the girl that who has been taken the training, or how turtle, what the story about turtle, and now she gives talk on turtle, and take huge interest on conserving them, on protecting the species. And we do a lot of street dramas, you can see over there. And you see over here the where there are a lot of children, and you can see the back of the children, and see the school, see the classroom. There are only bamboo sticks which have been placed, and there is no concrete wall, and even the roof is not a concrete one, it's only the thatched roof. And this is more close to Arunachal area. And so the stories I have heard from them is, when I ask that, okay, have you I mean, who can tell me that whoever has had turtle meat? So they're almost everybody raised their hand. And when I asked that what is there, so they said, okay, we need to have food. um, we need to have food. We didn't have food, we go to the jungle to get something, and we find a turtle, so we eat them. So over here it's more like, we cannot do conservation over here with rules and regulations. It is more about growing that love for this species, and making them responsible to conserve the species. Because most of the time, I mean, more than 90%, it's most of the time that they were unaware of these beautiful species that which needs to be protected. And this is the temple area. um, we have been walking, okay. And then rescue and rehabilitation with the forest department. So we keep on doing I mean, I think 2 years back we never got so many rescue calls before, but I'm very happy that gradually the number is increasing. Now if anybody see anything, they give us a call, and we of course coordinate with the forest department, and the forest department itself is very helpful. The DFO over there, the DFO sir is like outstanding. He always keeps us on the field, that anything rescue is happening or any talk is happening. So we keep on doing participating in different programs with forest department, as well as we train the forest frontline staff about the turtle, so that they know by themselves before even calling us that what exactly they need to do with the species. Because sometimes it happens, that they keep it under in a big tub, they keep the turtle over there, and it's very difficult for the turtle to come up and breathe and go down. So sometimes they get drowned. So now this area, these people know about how to save this. um, okay, and one of the I would say that this thing suddenly came to our mind. I think we have heard about this Greater Adjutant Stork, that how they have been doing this with Aruna, and here we thought to bring another way to help the local community, the fishermen, because over here in that area, because we are bang opposite to western range of Kaziranga National Park, and that area has been protected and no one can fish there. But these people have been doing fishing for ages, and it is very difficult to say no to them. Otherwise, it's the revolution. Every time the revolution is not really good. So we have started this alternative livelihood for the fishermen community, for the women especially, but of course their husband also helped them to take this gamocha. So in Assam, gamocha story, I mean, it's a huge respect, something with a huge respect. So we have done these gamochas with turtle motif, and trying to get in touch with the people who can directly buy this gamochas, or you can say scarf, because these people in Assam, almost every house, the women know this weaving of this gamocha at their own home with the handloom machine. But when they go to the market, their price varies a lot. Like they sell it in maybe 300 or 400 or 500, depending on the motif they have put. But when when the seller is selling them, they sell it in 2000, 2500, or more than that, and especially if it is a handloom product, because machine produce a lot of I mean, lot in number, and that's the reason why these ladies are uh, losing the contract, that because they need a lot of time, almost maybe one scarf they weave in one day. So we are trying to uplift this handloom tradition as well. And I think in last year, 16th of November, we have come up with this. And we are hoping that people would definitely like it, and they can come across and they can take few of these scarves directly from this group, the self-help group, and that can help them a lot. Like, there would be no seller and intermediate people. Directly you can like buy stuff from them, and that way I think you can conserve, because once they are earning from here, a little less pressure would be there on Brahmaputra for this fishing almost every day and night. Okay, so we here I have just used one, because we celebrate Turtle Day every year. This is the last year picture over there. This year I could not be there. I'm stuck in Calcutta due to lockdown. But in this year as well, we have last year we had a lot of programs. There were drama, and we had talk about turtles. And this is the Nakshankar temple. So we have already, these children, they got to know that why we should not leave the turtle, donate the turtle in the temple, rather than we should release it back into the wild. And till date, we get calls from the students. They come and visit, and they ask a lot of questions. And there are so many stories that they have saved a lot of turtles and called us that, because somebody could have, there are a few who has been seen a turtle, they have been taking for sailing or stuff, but they have called us, they have informed that this is happening, ma'am, we have seen this, you can this is where the person is going through, so we have to coordinate with the forest department. And it was true that we have found a lot of cases around that area due to this, due to the help of the students. So I think when this new generation is coming up with this kind of protection mentality, I think that's a good achievement. But we need to get it in huge number. um, and yes, so this year in Turtle Day, we have launched one app called Kurma. So it is still under process though, but now you can actually go, I mean, this is almost like a citizen science. So you can go, if you come across a turtle, you can see the photos in the app, or you can send the photos in the app, and you will get assistance from the experts around India, that what you should do with that, or what the species is and what is all about. So I think that will be really helpful for you to be more, get accustomed, or to be more keeping knowledge about this turtle species. And so, yes, yeah, I'm, I don't know, okay, so conserve some energy now. Thank you so much. I think this is, if you ask me more questions on conservation, it will be better, because hello.
Yeah, thanks, Orpita.
Yeah, I think some questions would be good, because this is just a very short gist about the work, whatever is happening out there. Hello?
Arpita ma'am, can I ask one question here?
Yes, please.
My question is, it looks slightly off the topic, but like we have commercial fisheries, so is it possible to rear turtles commercially in order to prevent the hunting from wild?
Okay, see, commercial means if we are like the domesticated breed we are talking about, right? But
Yes.
but imagine, I don't know. I mean, I won't be. It's on my concern. I mean, on my basis only. I mean, my thought only. Anything wild, when we are trying to breed and doing the, I mean, breeding it for consumption, for meat consumption, especially in our country, I don't think it is very much restricted into it. Somewhere the other, and you imagine why people do hunting, because that's a fun, that's a game. Okay, even if you are doing like like you do it in the fishery, if you are rearing the turtles in that area, I think the mentality would be same, because anything from the wild is much more fun than you are getting it, ready made. But I don't think that the rearing of turtles is also, it's not a very I don't know, it's not a very nice idea as well, because ultimately we're bringing the thing from the wild only, right?
Okay.
It's better, I mean, let me tell you in a different way. If that can happen, if that's the way you are thinking about a conservation, I think in that way we can actually bring up a lot of other turtles, and we can release it back into the wild, because we have lost a huge number of population of this turtle. Rather than thinking of consuming it, I think that your idea can be very much well placed, where we can actually increase their number, rather than thinking about a delicious food.
Yeah, one thing I forgot to mention that some number can be released back to wild, other
And just some
apart
number
from.
can be released back to the wild. Yeah, could be. I think it's a huge discussion, and it's a debate that whether it should be done or not. But to me, if you ask me personally, I don't think that for in India especially, for consumption, if we are rearing a few turtles, that can be done. But I don't know how much people are going to take it. That suppose in Tripura and in those areas, it's like a regular story. They sell turtle meat over there because they find it as a very delicacy. But again, this thing is there that you are hunting from the wild. Wild things are tastier than what you are rearing.
I thought of asking about this because I think sometimes people may not have other alternative to eat, so that's why I thought about
See,
this.
if you're talking about that people don't have other alternative, then why
Specifically, protein source. That means
see turtle is something you have so many alternative food, like you have fish, you have mutton, you have chicken, pork. I mean, if you're talking about the meat consumption, and you have eggs of other species which have been domesticated, or you have beef as well, so you are which have been domesticated since many years, right? So they but for consumption, like they don't have, see if let me tell you, suppose if I am in a place where I got stranded and I have nothing to eat after all the veggies and all the leaves I have finished in the forest, and I have to survive, if I see a turtle, I might consume that as well, because I don't have any option, okay, to survive, because I need to survive. I'm not killing it for fun, I'm not killing it for just to taste that how the meat taste, how the meat tastes. But um, just I mean, because we have, when we don't have any option, then you are having a turtle, that's a different issue. But when you have so many option, and then then you are thinking of rearing the turtle for consumption, that's a bit different. I don't know whether I just made you understand the thing or not, or whether I'll be.
Orpita,
Huh.
can I pitch in for Pranav? So, Pranav, to elaborate on Arpita's answer. So, if today you're talking about turtle as turtle meat breeding, tomorrow people will ask for deer, then people will ask for other species or animals, and I don't think there is an end to greed from a human species perspective. So
right.
there is no end to all of this, in fact. So
Okay.
frankly, let the wild be wild, and whatever has been domesticated, as Arpita rightly said, let that be what you consume end of the day. Does
Okay.
that make sense?
Yes, I agree.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, Arpita, I jumped in,
No, no,
and
no, no. Thank you so
someone
much. Thank you
someone
so
in the
much.
chat box actually asked whether what is your favorite turtle. I think that's David.
Oh, Dave. Yeah. Okay. I think the cane turtle. I think I love all the turtles, all the turtle, all frogs. I'm very much crazy about frogs as well. So, David, thank you for asking. So, I think now it's your responsibility to show me the cane turtle. So, yes, for now, that's my favorite.
Orpita,
Yes,
I had a quick question to you.
yes,
That
please.
is, so recently I visited Kuch Bihar, and as you rightly mentioned about the Assam temple, you know,
Mm-hmm.
Kuch Bihar Baneshwar temple also has the same black,
Same.
yeah, soft shell turtle population. And I think Shailendra visited with Shubro, who is in the call today. Can you say something about that? I mean, that's very interesting. What efforts you're doing to save that population out there. You know, because here also, what I noticed was that due to inbreeding, and since the population cannot migrate to other ponds because it is totally guarded. You know, there's a lot of a lot of shell rots because I saw a lot of patches, fungi, So although outside that temple complex, there are good population which actually, kind of travel from one pond to other, etc. So they have a semi-wild kind of a life.
Okay.
In fact,
So
recently one of them during that got killed also, if you know. So
mhm.
yeah, to let me to tell you that, and it's very funny that I came to know that this population in Assam also is wild, right? Rather than just the temple one.
Black soft shell.
Yeah.
Yes, we have found a wild population as well. I mean,
And although IUCN has not registered it
registered
yet,
it.
yeah.
Yes, yes. It was thought to be because it's been long time. Okay. Diadi, let me make it a little bit that why this thing is happening specially, and this Brahmaputra area and if you see Brahmaputra, you would find that there are human habitation all around the bank on both the sides. I mean, where there is Kaziranga, in where you are going little like far, you would find human habitation over there. And what is happening, this all black soft shell, gangetic soft shell, they lay their egg on the mud flat or on the sandy bank where they get a good gradient where they can climb, they can lay the egg and come down. But what is happening, and how things are changing every time, every year when Brahmaputra faces or Kaziranga faces flood, they bring a lot of huge logs along with it. And and when the force of the water or the current of the water reduces, they uh, this log gets stagnant somewhere, and months after months all this silt deposit over there. So that create small mud flats or small island where the turtle can rest. I mean, turtle can rest or climb up in the daytime or for their basking. But what is happening, this all logs have been taken by the people, the local communities. And what is happening now, there is only the current, the water current is there, and due to this all lifting all the dead logs, the trees and everything from around the bank, um, each and every year there are huge landslides which are taking place. And those, maybe that's the reason why we have lost a good number of species. Or but last year one of the Delhi University PhD scholar came to work with TSA. So he found wild black soft shell in that Brahmaputra river. So that was a huge news for all of us, because it's a ray of hope, I think. And imagine this temple pond which are having turtles for so many years. I mean, they have been collected from the wild and they have been kept there. And in Nakshankar as well, we have an adjacent pond where people are not allowed, so that is less filthy. And sorry, and the turtle do visit, and they climb, they cross a mud flat, and they cross and go to that next water hole. But around that, which is very unfortunate, that people have made those swampland as an agricultural land. So they are very much confined into that area only. What you were saying, that they get killed as well. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes if they somehow escape from that boundary, if they move ahead, imagine it's only the agriculture, the small very grassland area. So people are it's very easily they have been found and they get caught and they get killed. So this thing happening, so we are mostly trying to, I was talking about this grassroots conservation, no? So we are trying to aware the local community and people who are really working, who are really thinking of doing best for these turtles. We are trying to acknowledge this community, that what kind of work they're doing. And I think slowly that is helping, because recently we have one one example of it, that one person has stopped somebody or to get it into the temple pond rather than to release it outside. And there are cases where students, I mean, the first picture you have seen in my slide, the two girls have been holding a turtle. Their parent were taking that turtle to the temple pond, but those two students have stopped them and asked them that no, they had to be release it back into the river, not into the temple pond. So I think slowly it will take time. It will take time, but hopefully we will get a good result.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of questions out here. Thanks,
Okay.
Arpita. And can you open the chat window? I think first question was how do you distinguish between male and female turtles?
Okay. Just a moment.
You can stop sharing and maybe you can have a look at the chat window then. It's at the bottom.
Just okay, at the bottom, but I am unable to find it over here. I'm sorry, Diyadi, can you just tell me what are the questions?
Okay, sure.
It will be easy.
Yeah, sure. So the first question I think is, can we distinguish between a male and female turtle?
Okay. See, so for male and female, first we see the size, of course, but the female are little, in most of the species the female are bigger than the male, and the plastron of the female is much more flattened than the male. The male had a little curve, but because they have to mount on the female, and of course the tail size varies as well.
Great, thank you. Hopefully, Shubhodip, that answers your question. And Anirban, interestingly, has replied on your behalf.
Thank you so much. I think all the technical, you can ask me all the conservation work, whatever is happening out there, and how you, all of you who have been participating, how you can actually give your input into the conservation. I think better all technical questions should be answered by Anirban, or if any of our TSA member is here, that would be really good. I'll be happy if they're answering.
Okay, so Shubhradev also has another question. I think if we could catch the turtles from the temple ponds and release them back in the wild. I think Shubhradev, Arpita has already covered that, but Arpita, you can go ahead and.
Okay, I think only one line is enough. We humans think that we are very smart, but we are actually not. So it is very difficult to convince the temple authority or the people, because it's a religious value. They have a religious value to it. So imagine if you're taking their god, I mean, they think as Vishnu out of the temple, means the temple would have nothing, right? So it is difficult to convince them that to take that temple and out. And another thing, after so many years, they have been like contaminated with a lot of what Diyadi was mentioning, that they have a lot of bacterial or fungal kind of thing they have grown in their body. So if we release them back to the nature, so it is very easy that the wild population might get contaminated with this population. What we can do is to bring back the population in the wild is we can rear these hatchlings separately and then release them back into the wild. That can be done.
Wonderful, thank you. So David also has another question which is interesting. So David, being a herpetologist enthusiast, wants to turn a turtle enthusiast, as I understand David. So he's asking, what are the suggestions for people like him who are herp enthusiasts, and what should they note down when they see a turtle? And he's also asking whether there are proper ecological studies on Indian turtles.
Okay. I'll kill him. Okay, so what you can notice is first appreciate the beauty of that species. I think all the turtle species we find in India are are way too beautiful. So appreciate it. See whether it's a soft shell or a hard shell, whether it's a tortoise or a turtle, and then I think the markings, the color, the pattern they have, uh, and the habitat, where in which habitat you have seen this turtle or the tortoise. So yes, anything else, David, you should notice? And yes, about the ecological study, yes, I think it has been done. We from India, how much it's a question, but there are in the species, whatever 29 species we have, they have good the good well known, I mean well study had been done on that, but in different way. And of course we have some pioneers who has done vigorous work in turtles and tortoises of India.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Yeah, David, have you turned into a turtle enthusiast after this?
I've seen cave turtle and the carbon.
David, your voice is breaking off. David, your voice is breaking.
I mean,
Hello.
can you hear me? Is it better? Is it audible? Am I audible?
Audible, but your voice is, coming out and going on. I mean, it's in and out types.
Okay. Anyway, I'll put a message. That's better.
Okay, sure. While David puts a message,
you can put a message, or the thing is, any one of you can definitely get back to us later as well. I mean, if the session is small, a lot of other questions on turtles and the species, whatever you want to know, you can definitely email me, or the other can say share the number, and
sure.
you can directly contact over there with anything you want to know.
Yeah, so Arpita, the other question is from Proshun. He's asking whether how pesticide affects on turtle population.
Okay, I think very good question. Thank you for asking that. So, of course, because whatever pesticides we are putting onto the agricultural land on the area, that actually draining the water into the river. And as we were talking about this Brahmaputra basin, imagine it's not only the turtle, I think a lot of other species as well as fish, which are directly dependent on Brahmaputra, are facing a lot of like extinction, I would say. Not only difficulty, not only threat, but an extinction, because it's changing. I mean, every time when you are consuming a little bit of poison in your diet, or so that is a very big threat to all of that. That even we are trying to set with the forest department and going to the local community people who does a little bit of agriculture, to give them organic pesticides rather than using any kind of chemical stuffs. Thank you for asking this question. I forgot to mention this.
Wonderful. I think the other one, which is coming from Pranav again, that is, why are freshwater turtles soft-shelled, whereas their seawater cousins hard-shelled?
Freshwater turtles are soft-shell.
Whereas
can you come up with the question again?
Pranav, you want to ask her? Ask Arpita directly? Yeah.
Some of the freshwater turtles are soft-shelled, but marine turtles are hard-shelled. So, is this because of the diet or any other factors, or a kind of an adaptation?
For the diet, I don't think so. I mean, for the diet, things it varies, but for hard shell and soft shell, I think it's more on the habitat, on the ecology they are like growing up for. evolution. I mean, it's just the evolution where you were staying, you grow, your things, your morphological changes happens due to that. It's more on the evolution, and I think on the habitat.
Is it
Habitat and habitat, and if you're talking about the feeding behavior, I think it's more on their beak side, how the beak of the turtle is, how their jaw is placed. That's how you can talk about the feeding things. But the structure, the soft shell and hard shell, I think it's more because of the habitat they are living in.
Is it because seawater turtles may be having more enemies and natural predators as compared to freshwater?
Could be. That's right. Where you are staying, I mean, where you are staying, you have to have change according to that. If there are any other technical answers, I can get back to you, or anybody who knows it can answer it here on my behalf. That would be very nice.
Anirban, are you there to answer?
Anirban, are you there? Diyadi?
Can I barge in?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Okay. So actually, I'm not from evolutionary background and all. So I just like to correct Pranav for one thing, that not all freshwater turtle species are like soft shells. So there are like hard shell turtle species also. So it is probably how like the ancestors of the turtles got back into the sea, and where they started in the evolutionary tree. All that must come into account. Because we see turtles in the same habitat, which are like hard shell turtles and freshwater turtles. So it's basic, depending on obviously, like you mentioned, it's about their predatory aspects, the way they live. Like some of the freshwater turtles who have got soft shells, so they don't come up on the ground to forage and all that. So they may have certain limitations as far as predation is concerned. So taking all that into account, mostly turtle shells have evolved to protect themselves. So I think that has got to do something with why some of these turtles have got harder shells and some of them has softer shells. This freshwater soft shell turtles are more aquatic compared to their hard shell cousins. So that is why the body dynamics also help them to swim around and all that. So if you come across sea turtles, so you'll also notice, though they have harder shells, but they have very flattened shells, which helps them to maneuver through the seawater. As well as that, not all the sea turtles are very hard shells. If you see the largest of the one, Dermochelys coriacea, that's the leatherback. So it's a huge turtle, and it has got a leathery shell. It doesn't have a very hard shell like the other sea turtles. So it's basically onto the evolutionary part, where they started, whether they started on land and then went onto the sea. I think that also comes into play. Because all the sea turtles, if you notice, flippers, they have developed the forelimbs into their flippers. Many of the flippers you'll come across, they have a small spur sticking out. So which shows that probably they had land ancestors who had claws, and the claws are still remaining as a reminiscent of their land ancestors. So I think somebody who is working on the turtle evolution will be able to give a better and excellent answer than me.
Thanks a lot.
Okay. One more thing I forgot to mention is we have invited, we are also connected with a lot of universities in Guwahati as well as in Tezpur, and even in Arunachal, in Itanagar, that all the students are welcome to join us for the voluntary work. And they can come here, they can learn about the habitat of the turtle and how they can actually help the species from the brink of to bring back from the brink of extinction. And they can do their dissertation as well. So I think even students are participating nowadays quite a lot. They have been very much aware of it. So initially we have started it, but right now we are getting good response on it. And Tanushri has asked that whether Turtle Survival Alliance work in whole of the Northeast. So most of it, Assam, yes. Arunachal, we have been we have started we have started like working, and in Nagaland we have been already doing this breeding program for this Asian brown tortoise, this Manoria ms. So that has been another very magnificent creature. I mean, magnificent tortoise, and amazing. And I think one of my favorite. It has become one of my favorite tortoise. So yes, we have been doing these breeding programs for quite a few years, and it has a good success story as well. And yes,
Orpita, someone is asking, Torushree is asking whether in a beginner's book which they can refer.
I think for the beginners, for beginners book, or not only beginners, I think for a good book for identification of turtles, I think Jayaditya Purukar. So Jayaditya does there's tortoises of Southeast Asia. Turtles and tortoises of Southeast Asia. That book is really good.
So I think he's also there. He's
also there. Yes.
Yeah,
he's there, I guess.
He's asked you about your favorite turtle. So yeah, and I think someone wants to ask whether they want to volunteer, how to become one.
Okay, if you really want to volunteer, then you can send us an email, and in which area you want to work on. You just give your choice. And if we have that, if we have an option that you can work there voluntarily, and we are running a project, then you are most welcome and help us.
So, so Arpita, can you give the email ID, please? I will just type it out.
Okay. Should I write it here?
Yeah, please just type it out. So anyone else who has any further questions for Arpita, which might come to your mind later, can just email.
Yes, please. And this is actually it is very difficult. I now understand people who give talk in Zoom. It's so difficult. You don't see anyone, you don't hear anyone. It's anyway. But any question is welcome. Just email me, or I can just say I can share my number. Should I, Diyadi?
So Orpita, can you share your email? Just to share.
Yeah, I did. I did not.
I'm not seeing it.
Okay. Acha, no. Oh, sorry. It's like I sent it to Shrujanda.
Yeah. Just send it to everyone. Just
send it to everyone. Wait. Acha, how to send it to everyone?
There is a to everyone. Yeah.
Oh, so everyone. I got it. Okay.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
There's there's another question from Proshun which says that which factor actually control the particular nesting distance from water?
I think for this, I need to get back to him for this question. Particular factor, actually, turtles calculate a lot of things. They predict the time of monsoon. They predict that how much the water level would rise. So it varies a lot. But I think in a proper way, it will be better if I give the answer later. That would be good. I'm sorry, but I can get back to him later on this.
Yes. So Proshun, why don't you write a mail?
Yeah, you just write a mail so that I can.
We will get back to.
Absolutely. Absolutely, I will.
Wonderful.
I think with a better scientific data, I'll be able to mail you back, because
wonderful.
Yeah.
And so Arpita, other than students, do you allow old people
as
volunteers?
Old people old people like Anirban you are talking about, or like you?
Like me.
I don't think old women are allowed. I think there should be a ban on old women.
Oh, sorry.
I'm very bad. No, sorry. Old people and very old man.
Old women should not be allowed on their own like this.
But definitely not.
I put my foot down on this.
And definitely not older men.
Older men, they can go anywhere they want. Old women should be restricted.
Oh, thank God I don't fall into that.
Yeah.
You think so? Okay, that's what you think.
Yeah, beside you, Shujamda, me and Diyadi, I think we can still raise the voice.
Ah,
We are not old yet.
No, I am not considering you in that category.
Oh, how sweet.
So, anyone else who has any questions for Orpita before we kind of round it off? Okay. So, any question which comes to your sorry, Orpita.
Yeah, sorry for just interrupting, but one thing I would say to everyone that over here, whoever is listening to this webinar, I think conservation is not only, for you and me. I think conservation can be, I mean, it doesn't really need that you are a scientist or like you have huge knowledge on the particular species, but conservation needs just the passion and persistence. So I think anyone can do that on their part of it. I mean, on their part.
Hello, Orpita. Did we lose you?
Yeah, there's one more question.
David is, having a chat with Orpita time to time.
Right. And there's one question from Prasoon also.
Yeah.
The difference between turtle and tortoise.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. Orpita, you there? I think
she's got disconnected.
I think she's got stuck. So, Anirban, would you like to pitch in about this question, difference between turtle and tortoise?
Yeah, sure. So actually, the word turtles, when we talk about turtles, it's depends on there's a theory turtles and terrapins and then tortoises. So basically when I say turtles, it could actually mean all the freshwater turtles, sea turtles and tortoises all around the world, depending on which part of the world you're into and what that particular thing is called over there. But biologically, when we actually talk about turtles, then there's a lot of difference between a turtle and a tortoise. So basically, starting with the habitat, the tortoise are much more land dwellers, and they forage on land, seldom go to water to soak or drink. They don't get into water like swimming like the other freshwater turtles who go into swimming and all that. Turtles, because of this, they live a aquatic life or a semi-aquatic life. So there is a much difference between the limbs of the tortoises and turtles. So like freshwater turtles, you will see they have got webbed feet like ducks. And for tortoises, they don't have that much of webbing, because tortoises are more of land dwellers. So they need to walk a lot on land. So their limbs are also differently built. So they're much more heavily built, like elephant-like feet that we say. They have got really large, feet. Another thing is they do a high walk. Most turtles do not do high walk. And there is one difference that you might come across is most of the turtles are either mostly they're omnivores or carnivores. But tortoises are primarily herbivores, so they feed on berries and vegetations of various kinds. So these are the main three things, anatomically and by feeding behavior. So they're different from the turtles and the tortoises.
Thank you, Anirban. Sorry, Orpita, we lost your connection. That's why we called in Anirban. And very interestingly, all of you who are there in today's webinar, I have to say that although we started as women in conservation, we ended up as couple in conservation. So Orpita and Anirban happen to be a couple. So we have slightly diverged from being women in conservation to a couple in conservation webinar. So, thank you.
Can I ask one
Pranav.
question last?
Yeah, Pranav, please.
So the question asked on difference between turtles and tortoises reminds me of one species, terrapin. Are terrapins found only in China, or they are found in India also? And how do we distinguish them from turtles? Hello? Hello?
Orpita, can you hear us?
Hello?
Orpita, you have to unmute yourself.
Orpita, yeah, let me see if I can unmute Orpita.
Not able to.
Yeah.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So we have one terrapin, which is the Batagor Baska, the Northern River terrapin, and we have another successful story in Sundarban area, both inside of Bangladesh and in India. So yes, India has a terrapin. And
How do we distinguish them from turtles?
how do we distinguish? They are more into water. They just only come up for actually terrapin. And I think another, again, more technically, I think Anirban would be better person to answer this. Is he still there?
I think the rest of the people are going to kick me out now.
No, why?
So actually, basically speaking, the term terrapin or turtle are like quite interchangeable. It is said that terrapins are like, more brackish water dwellers, like the Northern River terrapin that Arpita has mentioned. But there are certain terrapins that are named like, who are freshwater dwellers. So it's like quite an interchangeable term, and like there's no specific like, anatomical structure or something which distinguishes a terrapin and a turtle, like, it's just a terminology.
Does that answer your question, yes. Pranav? Yeah, thank you. So Anirban, you won't be kicked out because we finally decided it's a couple webinar. So you're very much welcome.
Again, he has muted. Okay,
so,
any more?
Yeah, any more questions for Arpita? Then we can say bye and good night, and thanks to all for joining in all our webinars. And it was absolutely a great experience to listen to some wonderful ladies on wolves and the leopards in Himachal, and the snakes and the turtles. So, and we hope to carry on with such webinars, fishing cats also, carry on such webinars in future too, since we got a very good feedback from all of you, and it seems everyone really loved it. So, any other questions, feedback, anything anyone would like to share before we kind of log off? Anyone can mute, please unmute and please do it.
Hello.
Yes, Mr.
Hello, Arpita. Nice presentation. It was lovely. I just took the time to say hello to all of you, and it was really brilliant.
Yeah, and now I can realize that what has happened to you on that day. Yeah, it's not that easy.
Anyway, but you pulled it off nicely.
Yeah, I think this question answer session was it really helped.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jayada.
Okay.
Okay, I guess Arpita, you might get a lot of inboxes.
Sure.
There is not much. Yeah, I think someone. Okay, no, everyone loved it, and thank you very much. Everyone is appreciative. So thank you, Arpita, for doing this with all the internet issues and all the Amphan issues which you faced. And I know how much I have been after you for this, but but we all really wanted to hear you out. So thanks a lot, and take care, guys. Thank you very much. And anytime and at all times, you all can log into Heal page on Facebook, and you can be part of the NGO. You can become a member, and we can share great wildlife stories and wildlife issues which Heal works on. And thanks Anirban for pitching in also. Thank you so much. Anything else? Any parting things from you, Arpita?
No, I mean, thank you for having me here. It's a different experiential date. I was listening to all the webinars, but doing it was really different. I mean, and people who are, I mean, you know that I'm very talkative and I can talk, but this is a very wonderful forum, and coming up with a lot of questions from so many people was really overwhelming. It was really nice. It was really nice. I thoroughly enjoyed.
Thank you so much. Take care, all of you.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Good
Bye.
night.
Bye. Good
Yeah.
night. Bye.